I think original anime series and films are some of the best experiences to come across in the realm of anime. That isn't to say that anime adaptations can't compare or that they're inferior in any way, but with adaptations, 6 out of 10 times it's almost certainly guaranteed to be a hit, a success, and or a beloved classic. Dragon Ball, Naruto, Bleach, One Piece, My Hero, Demon Slayer, just to name a few, all have source material for people to follow sometime before their anime adaptations aired. And even though for many of us going into them, it may be the first time either hearing or learning about them, despite that, these series more or less received adaptations for their popularity, and the anime would in time amplify that popularity. This is something that original anime series and films lack. There's promotional content that releases before it's out, but regardless, original anime lacks a prior fanbase and lacks the amount of popularity that other series before and after it with manga and light novels would have. As such, there's always the possibility that it won't garner that much attention when it's out, despite how entertaining it may be. But to me, an anime series created from the ground up, a completely blind experience for everyone going in, ideas that are rarely explored in anime and manga actually getting a chance to be tackled, it's that very factor that actually makes original anime such as The Great Pretender a beautiful work of con art. Created by Studio Wit, who made Ancient Magus Bride and Attack on Titan's adaptation, directed by Hiro Kaburagi, the same director for 91 Days and Tonari no Kaibutsu-kun, and music done by Yutaka Yamada, the same person who did the music for Tokyo Ghoul and Vinland Saga, The Great Pretender is a beautiful series, in its writing, music, art, and animation. And to put it out there in case you're just hearing about it, this series is a Netflix exclusive, so if you can't watch it, I understand. So some time ago I binged the last batch of episodes of The Great Pretender, which encouraged me to make this video. And don't worry, I won't go into major spoilers, I'll only be talking about the first few episodes. Now with that out of the way, The Great Pretender, as I implied earlier, is a show about scamming. A Japanese scam artist named Makoto Edamura, who claims to be Japan's greatest scammer, attempts to pickpocket a foreigner, only to end up getting played and being chased by cops. He eventually comes across the same guy he pickpocketed in a taxi, traveling with him to America. His name is Laurent, and he's targeting a mafia boss by the name of Eddie Cassano with a new type of drug he's whipped up called Sakura Magic. A drug that simply digesting one pill can make you do... that.
And all that from just one little piece of candy.
Now you might be thinking, there's no way a drug like that is real. And you'd be right. It's not real. None of it is real. Laurent is a confidence man, which, if you didn't pick up from the obviously subtle term, he's a con artist. And after hearing that, you may have guessed that the woman who took the drug was in on it. Her name is Abby, and I'll say this right now, she is best girl and I will gladly die on this hill.
Ouch.
You said to cut him loose.
Both of them are confidence men who are after Cassano, who, to the public, is a film producer who many people see just makes B movies. But that's just a front for his life as a drug kingpin, who ruins the lives of those who get roped in and or kills them. To make matters worse, he turns young, hopeful women into addicts and sex slaves. The whole purpose of the confidence men are to bait crooks with false words and illusions, so to speak, and eventually walk out the door with all of their money they've acquired. It's a different perspective on the lesser of two evils, so to speak. Con artists taking advantage of those worse than them in different ways. But one interesting detail I didn't mention about them is that they're not a team, despite working together. They're not family, they're not friends, and if you screw up, they dump you. There's a mixture of trust and absence of it that intertwines with one another. Another interesting thing about them is that nothing is set in stone.
Change of plans.
Why are you always changing plans at the drop of a hat?
Laurent puts together a plan for a long con, creating rumors and performances so that their culprits fall in place of it, sure, but nothing is guaranteed. As such, there's a number of improvisations that occur, and the outcome of the scam can fluctuate between good to... Alright, so aside from the synopsis, let's talk about the anime itself, as there's a lot to unpack. First off, the art and animation is really well done. The combination of stylized painted backgrounds and the scenery surprisingly feel at home with the simplified designs and line work on the characters. On top of that, the show does incorporate CGI a number of times, which in a number of anime series is fairly obvious and sometimes an eyesore. But surprisingly, while it is noticeable, the 3D animation in this show actually fits pretty decently with the abstract coloring of the backgrounds and lack of blending and smooth fading, to the point that it really doesn't become that much of an issue, or at all. The music is heavily jazz influenced, which I really enjoy hearing, especially in anime. Not just that, but the use of it really sells the tone of the moments in this show, especially when it comes to the cons. When things are going as planned, it gives off a calming vibe.
That powder I showed him was cornstarch, and I started that whole rumor in the first place.
But what about when she...
While when things are not expected for or start to go off the rails in different ways, the music picks up and gives off a more chaotic vibe. The use of music in entertainment, such as cinema or animation, its use can be as important as the story or characters in terms of addressing a certain emotion for the viewer to have in the moment, and this show definitely has a handle on that. And while the opening is an original composition with rather beautiful visuals to accompany it at that, the ending is actually Freddie Mercury's The Great Pretender, which I am fairly certain was no coincidence considering that the visuals do indeed pay homage to the singer if I recall correctly. But regardless, it looks and sounds beautiful, and it's just downright adorable. The characters each are unique in their own ways. Makoto has an honest personality, for better or worse.
We're all gonna end up dead.
Laurent constantly has an air of confidence and ego, always wearing a smile on his face and playing it cool, even when things may be taking a turn for the worse.
What do we do?
I've no idea.
And Abby is, for the most part, crude and apathetic.
Go jerk off in a back alley, you worthless virgin.
Along with the characters, the voice acting is really good. As someone who both enjoys English and Japanese voice acting, they're both really good to listen to, and surprisingly, this show is also available to listen to in German, Spanish, and French, which after listening to for a bit, are actually also really good. I watched this primarily in English, and it was really lovely to find out that the show does mix in other dialects from other parts of the world, instead of having it all as one language regardless.
It's mine. That's my wallet. Chalet des. Hola, amigos. ¿Cómo está?
把米捏紧点，不然会散了。你一打工的少说废话，你哪来的？
Oh Marie, n'oublie pas qu'on a des dettes à rembourser. Ne pense plus à ce tableau.
Sounds like a weird jumble of a bunch of different dialects. Where did you learn to speak like this?
What do you mean we are the jumble?
With the exception of the second season, there are multiple cons that occur throughout the show, and every one of the main characters gets their time in the spotlight, and their motives for being confidence men are fairly interesting. Of course, I won't say anything here, but do know it's definitely worth taking a look at. What I love personally is that this show does a great job of storytelling. Much like a good magic trick, you're shown enough to stay on track, but not everything all at once. And while the idea of stage performances, heists, and long cons have been explored before a number of times in the past, it's a form of entertainment you really don't see too much in anime, which is a nice breath of fresh air. The Great Pretender is an interesting experience to watch, to say the least. The art style of the background and scenery are fairly uncommon, the story is fairly investing, the characters are colorful, both figuratively and literally, and the music is well orchestrated and composed. This show from beginning to end was quite the journey. If you can, I do recommend that you view this show when you've got the time. I can't say that it's something for everyone, but The Great Pretender is, well, in my heart, a part of the beauty of original anime.